Do you feel like debt is suffocating you? Like it's weighing you down and making it impossible to breathe? You're not alone. Millions of people around the world struggle with debt every day. But what if I told you that there's a way out? A way to pay off your debts faster than you ever thought possible. When you have high-interest debt, it's like being trapped in a never-ending cycle of financial stress. You're paying more and more money each month, but still, you're not getting ahead. And then there are the late fees, the collection calls, the feeling of guilt and shame. It's a nightmare. But what if I told you that by following some simple steps, you can break free from this cycle and start building wealth instead? Imagine being debt-free, having a sense of peace and security, and being able to plan for your future with confidence. It's not just about paying off debts, it's about taking control of your financial life. One of the most crucial things to understand is that paying off debt quickly requires discipline and patience. You need to be willing to make sacrifices in the short term so that you can reap long-term rewards. And let's face it, we all love instant gratification, but when it comes to finances, sometimes you have to wait for the results. To illustrate this, let me give you an example of how paying off debt quickly can work. Meet Sarah, a 30-year-old marketing manager who has accumulated over $20,000 in credit card debt. She earns a good income, but her expenses are high, and she's struggling to keep up with her payments. By prioritizing her debts using the debt avalanche method, Sarah is able to pay off her debts faster than she ever thought possible. To start, Sarah takes a close look at her budget and sees where her money is going. She makes a list of every single expense, no matter how small, and categorizes them into needs and wants. This helps her identify areas where she can cut back and allocate more funds towards debt repayment. For instance, Sarah realizes that she's been spending too much on dining out and decides to cook at home instead. She also cancels her gym membership and starts exercising at home for free. These small changes may not seem like a lot, but they add up quickly, and Sarah is able to put an extra $500 towards her debt each month. Let's talk about prioritizing your debts using the debt avalanche method. This means focusing on the ones with the highest interest rates first. For example, if you have a credit card balance with an April of 22% and a student loan with an April of 6%, it makes sense to tackle that credit card debt first. But here's where things get really interesting. One powerful strategy for paying off debt quickly is to use the snowball effect. Rather than focusing on the total amount owed, try to pay off small debts one by one. For instance, if you have multiple credit cards with balances ranging from $500 to $5,000, start by paying off the smallest one first. Let's say you owe $2,000 on your credit card and another $1,500 on a different card. Focus on paying off the $1,500 balance first, and then move on to the larger one. This might seem counterintuitive at first. After all, it's more efficient to pay off the largest debt first, but trust me, it works like magic. By getting rid of those smaller debts, you'll get a psychological boost that will propel you forward. For example, let's say John has 3 credit cards with balances of $2,000, $1,500, and $5,000. He decides to use the snowball effect and focuses on paying off the smallest debt first. After a few months, he pays off that card and feels a huge sense of accomplishment. He then moves on to the next card, which has a balance of $2,000. As he starts making progress on this card, his motivation grows, and he's able to tackle even larger debts. Another essential step in paying off debt quickly is to cut expenses wherever possible. Look for areas where you can reduce spending by 10% or more, and put that money towards your debt. Want some ideas? Start with the basics: cook at home instead of eating out, cancel subscription services like Netflix and gym memberships, sell items you no longer need on eBay or Craigslist. For instance, let's say Emily has a habit of buying expensive coffee every morning. She decides to cut back on this expense by brewing her own coffee at home. By saving $5 per day, she's able to put an extra $1,500 towards her debt each year. But what if you're struggling to make ends meet and don't have any extra money to put towards your debt? Don't worry, there are still ways to pay off debt quickly. For example, consider taking on a side hustle or selling items you no longer need online. By increasing your income and reducing your expenses, you can free up more funds to tackle your debt. Let's say Rachel has accumulated over $15,000 in credit card debt with high interest rates. She knows that she needs to take control of her finances, but she's not sure where to start. By prioritizing her debts using the debt avalanche method and cutting expenses wherever possible, Rachel is able to pay off her debts faster than she ever thought possible. For example, Rachel starts by creating a budget and tracking every single expense, no matter how small. She realizes that she's been spending too much on dining out and decides to cook at home instead. She also cancels her gym membership and starts exercising at home for free. These small changes may not seem like a lot, but they add up quickly, and Rachel is able to put an extra $500 towards her debt each month. Another important thing to keep in mind is that paying off debt quickly requires discipline and patience. You need to be willing to make sacrifices in the short term so that you can reap long-term rewards. This means cutting back on unnecessary expenses, creating a budget, and sticking to it. To illustrate this point, let's say Mark has accumulated over $10,000 in credit card debt with high interest rates. He knows that he needs to take control of his finances, but he's not sure where to start. By prioritizing his debts using the snowball effect and cutting expenses wherever possible, Mark is able to pay off his debts faster than he ever thought possible. For example, Mark starts by paying off his smallest credit card balance first. After a few months, he's able to eliminate that debt and feels a huge sense of accomplishment. He then moves on to the next card, which has a balance of $2,000. As he starts making progress on this card, his motivation grows, and he's able to tackle even larger debts. In addition to cutting expenses and prioritizing your debts, it's also essential to communicate with your creditors if you're struggling to pay off your debts. They may be willing to negotiate a lower interest rate or payment plan that works for you. And remember, paying off debt is not just about numbers, it's also about changing your mindset. By adopting a growth mindset and taking ownership of your financial future, you'll be amazed at how quickly you can overcome even the most daunting obstacles. Let me give you another example to illustrate this point. Meet Sarah again, who we met earlier in our conversation. Remember that she has accumulated over $20,000 in credit card debt. By prioritizing her debts using the snowball effect and cutting expenses wherever possible, Sarah is able to pay off her debts faster than she ever thought possible. But what's even more impressive is how Sarah changes her mindset about money. She realizes that paying off debt isn't just about getting rid of the numbers on her credit card statement, it's also about taking control of her financial life and creating a brighter future for herself. For example, Sarah starts by tracking every single expense, no matter how small. She uses an app to monitor her spending and makes adjustments as needed. By doing so, she's able to free up more funds to tackle her debt and make progress towards her long-term goals. In conclusion, paying off debt quickly requires discipline, patience, and creativity. By prioritizing high-interest debts, using the snowball effect, cutting expenses, communicating with creditors, and changing your mindset about money, you can break free from the cycle of debt and start building wealth instead. Don't let financial stress hold you back any longer. Take control of your finances today. Remember, paying off debt is not just about getting rid of the numbers on your credit card statement, it's also about taking control of your financial life and creating a brighter future for yourself. And finally, don't forget that paying off debt quickly requires support and accountability. Consider finding an accountability partner or joining a community of people who are also working towards their financial goals. By having someone to share your progress with and get support from, you'll be more motivated to stay on track and make progress towards your long-term goals. So there you have it, the power to pay off debt quickly is within your reach. With discipline, patience, creativity, and a growth mindset, you can break free from the cycle of debt and start building wealth.